Oh my God. Becky, look at their butts. They don't have any holes. They look like one of those Ken doll girlfriends. But you know, who understands Barbies? 2 cheeks, no hole. They look like total ostomates. I mean, they're butts. There's no hole. Are they just 2 best friends without buttholes? Like, how do they poop? I mean, gross. Look, they just got bags.
We got poop bags and we cannot lie. It's so great that we did not die. We're 2 best friends with no holes in our ends and a bag around our waist. We just smile and we pull up tough even though our butts are stuffed. We don't poop in the jeans we're wearing. Our stories we are sharing. So Danny,
yeah?
you have a healthy butt?
No.
Well, shake it.
Shake it?
Shake it.
Shake it.
Shake that unhealthy butt. We got bags. We got bags. Yeah, baby. When it comes to intestines, we ain't got much. Danny G's at 15 feet, and I count mine in inches.
Wait, what?
Bags. We got bags. It's time for DBI Live. Here are your hosts, Danielle and Joe. Hi!
I'm Danielle.
And I'm Joe.
And
we're double bagging it. 2 best friends.
With no buttholes.
I've got Crohn's disease.
I've got ulcerative colitis.
And we both have.
Permanent ileostomies.
Yeah.
We're pooping at Joe's living room table.
Yes, we are.
I'm proud of that.
Welcome, you all. It is DBI Live 1.5.
I can't wait for when we're at number
Number
2,
two.
episode, season 2.
That will take a little while.
It will, but I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
You know, hashtag number 2.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us on this fine Wednesday evening. We hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful night. We have very exciting things happening today.
Lots of very exciting things. Today was Infusion Day, as it always is on Wednesday. So we had a fun day, and we celebrated Danielle's birthday at
Where's my
Infusion
hat?
today.
Oh, I didn't even bring it. Joe is so kind. He created this birthday wonderland in my little infusion pod, and it was awesome. We had little party hats and decorative things on the window, and Joe bought me like a pandemic birthday gift set.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. I should have brought it here. Maybe later I'll go and grab it. It was good fun.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. It was definitely fun. We have fun at Infusions. Infusion nurses are our friends. So every Wednesday is like a little pandemic party.
It's always. Basically, that's the only thing that we do. Wednesdays. Wednesdays are our day out.
Yeah, our day out.
Yeah. It's
I'm thinking.
We sound. Yeah.
It's
our day out.
It's been a long 300 and.
Oh yeah, I have it on my phone. It's like
350
3:30 or something. Oh yeah, I guess it'd be closer. I don't even know. Pandemic.
Or no, you're right. You're at 3:30. We're about a month away from the lockdown when the lockdown started. So yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, we are excited tonight, as you can see on the screen here. It's episode 1.5, Traveling with an Ostomy, with a very special guest, Maria-Jose Bouey.
One of our favorite humans ever.
Yes.
She makes us laugh like no other.
Yes. Beautiful human being, great friend, great advocate, and we're so honored to have her with us tonight.
And great stories as well.
Oh my gosh.
So many good stories.
Yeah. Besides being a year older, what else has happened this past week? Anything fun, exciting?
I mean, my child, my baby, my almost 17-year-old got her license this morning.
What?
Can we just talk about that for a moment? When I got my driver's license back when there wasn't a pandemic, also so many years ago, decades ago, let's be real, I had like the craziest, most strenuous and stressful driver's test. But now, fun fact, with the pandemic, we did maneuverability. I had to be in the car with her. We couldn't wear masks because, well, no one was in the car, so we didn't need to, but because I couldn't tell her anything. So she did her maneuverability. And then we went to the driving course, and it was a parking lot about for maybe the size of 15 cars at the very most could be in. And she parked, and then she drove in this little tiny square where there was a yield sign and a stop sign, and she was done. Like you could ride a tricycle faster than she could drive our car through the driver's course. And she passed. Proud of her. But it was so weird. So weird.
Was it abbreviated because of pandemic rules?
Yeah, because they can't go in the car with you. So they have to be able, they have to be able to view the kid turning the signals on and off. But I was like, oh, we're done. And they were like, okay, well, you pass, go pay us $30.
So we're just we're just mailing everything in now. Like all the pandemic rules, because we have obviously definitely bigger fish to fry, bigger problems to deal with. It's like, yeah, all right, kid, here you go. You can turn, you can hit the gas, you know which one's the gas, you know which one's the brake, go.
I mean, but it was just the strangest things. I remember being terrified of mine, and she was nervous, but she did great. But it was so weird to have just a little, I was saying it was, for those of you who know what Cedar Point is or any amusement park, her driver course was 1/5 of like the Cadillac cars that you drive with your 4-year-olds. It was, we live in bizarre times.
On my driver's test, it was in Circleville here in Ohio. I was in Circleville, and I drove around from the Bureau of Motor Vehicles station, got in the car with the instructor, and we drove just around the neighborhood there.
Oh, I had to get like on highways.
We were almost back to the station before she turned at me and she's like, "Are you ever going to stop at any stop signs?" Because I was rolling through every stop sign, and I was like,
"Wait,
geez."
Did you pass?
I did pass. Like that was the only thing I was doing wrong.
What's up with that?
But surprisingly, though, I'm like, why did you wait until I got back to the station? Why didn't you say it after like the second stop sign? She
probably just wanted you out of the car. Let's be honest. But you know what? Talking about driver's license, it makes me think of road trips, which makes me think of travel, which makes me think of flights and going places and all kinds of treats that I miss ever so much.
Makes me think of pooping my pants.
Or that.
Or I used to before I had my ostomy. It's a great segue, pooping my pants.
Everything revolves around you pooping your pants.
And
or your shirt.
Or my shirt. Or whoever's shirt is sitting close to me.
Fair enough.
But let's move on to travel, and let's welcome our very special guest. MJ, welcome to the studio.
Hello. Okay, now my finger's in the camera. That's nice.
Hello. We're so happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, through the magic of computers, we are all here together, and this is an exciting moment. We haven't seen each other in 16 months. I had to do some math there.
In person?
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Carry the 2 divided by 6, something like that.
Yeah, it's too much calendar math. Yeah.
I'm just like, then my new terms during COVID, like people are like, what are you doing the 17th? And I'm like, yesterday, today, tomorrow. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I'm wearing yoga pants and offensive socks. That's my plans.
What is 17? What does that mean?
What?
No, what are you doing the 17th?
Oh.
Like, what is 17?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. What month are we in? Yours.
What year is it? Anyone else surprised that we're in February? Like, what? Anyways, yeah, so.
But yes, thank you for being here. And we would love if you would just introduce yourself and share whatever you'd like to share for our guests.
Sure. My name is Maria-Jose. I am in Toronto, Canada, which is super exciting. So we're across the world from it. No, okay, not across the world, but I am a double ostomate. I have had well over 60 major surgeries, including 2 living donor kidney transplants. I've had spinal surgery. I've had different ostomy surgeries. I live with a colostomy and a metrophenoff. So I am full of medical adventures, to say the least, but it hasn't stopped me. I currently sit as the director of the International Ostomy Association 2040 Revamp Program. Super exciting. I've been a past president at my local chapter. I've been a camper at Ostomy Camp here in Canada. And I also work for an airline, so holding different positions. So it's very exciting. I'm always doing something, to say the least, and travel is one of my biggest passions. I was born in South America, but raised here in Canada. So my first flight was at a very young age, and it's a long flight from there. So ever since, I think it's been part of my blood and my passion. And like, I absolutely love travel and adventure. So that's a little bit about me.
Yay!
Yay.
Well, we are super excited to hear that.
Thank
I
you.
just want to say that I cannot say I've probably what is it?
Mitrofanov. Think stroganoff, like the soup.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Mitrofanov.
Mitrofanov.
Beef Mitrofanov.
Yeah, super effortless word. It just rolls off the tongue. That and hello. I mean, they go hand in hand.
Every time I read it, I can never say it. So now that I have that tip, I'm going to be able to do well with that. So thank you for that.
That's
So yeah, let's run through. We have so many friends here saying hi.
Yeah.
We pushed them up on the screen. So hello back there.
Some of my friends are here too. Some Ostomy family.
Yeah, and just point out, it's you are our second Canadian guest.
Listen, Canadians, we've got what's happening here.
You do.
Absolutely.
We're living our best life. We believe in quarantining. There's all kinds of things happening here.
That's right. I see all kinds of little Canadian flags in our lineup here. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. And to those who are new to us, thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed our weird little song at the beginning. We enjoy weirdness.
I love that song.
That was so much fun. It started off as a joke, and then it turned into this just beautiful thing, and now we can't get enough of it. So.
Yeah, our friend Joe Moore helped us record that and produce that.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Travel. Where do we want to jump into this?
I just want to say how much I miss it and can't wait to get back to it. But I will wait.
Yeah. I think that's something that I mentioned to you guys earlier too. I just want to say, listen, we all love a good adventure, even if it means going down the street in your car to visit a friend, or going across your country on a road trip, jumping on a boat, or hopping on the next flight. But during these truly challenging times, I encourage you all to stay home and stay safe. And it's a great way to save money for that next big adventure, should you choose to take one, and really budget for things that you may have not splurged on in other times. So take this time to really plan your next getaway safely, and hopefully it will be the next big adventure of your life to wherever you hope to go.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about saving, because that's what I'm doing. I'm just working and just kind of stashing stuff away in my bank account. And
I'm eating.
Oh yeah.
So you're saving, and I'm like, like, what do I do? Like, I'm home on the couch.
I feel like, the cheeses around the world, I feel like I'm traveling by cuisine in my home. So, and now, you can have food delivered, you can have groceries delivered. I'm not going to lie. I've been traveling via my taste buds and watching.
You're ticking off the eat, pray, love. First is eat.
Exactly.
Then we pray for better tomorrows, and then we love the world all over.
Perfect. We're going to write a new book. I love it.
And then I pray because I ate so much again.
Yeah, we had that problem today. Like, oh, I hate so much. But yeah, so we have so many people here today who want to hear all of your wonderful travel tips, all of the tidbits that you can give. So many people eager to learn.
Yeah, I posted on my social media platforms that I was gonna share this amazing platform with you guys and share some tips and tricks. But I think some of the key things that came up were, are you able to travel with special needs, especially living with an ostomy? So my platform, because there's so many other things that I have, I shared not just ostomies, but yes, you can travel. I think doing anything that sparks that joy in your life, be it through travel and adventure, or even on a road trip, or sleeping over at a friend's house. All those things are a form of travel. And doing it safely is the key to doing that, so that you feel comfortable. And that looks different on different people and different medical needs, right? So living with an ostomy, I think there's a few key things you need to be aware of. And the first I would say is being aware of what medical products you use and for how long you use those products. So are you changing your medical supplies frequently? Are you a less frequent changer? And what those medical supplies are. So knowing the name, the brand, and manufacturing. And the reason I say that is when you go internationally, especially, or even if you're in a small town that maybe doesn't have a plethora of options like your big cities do, or like the big manufacturers and vendors do, you want to know what you use, so that if someone is looking to give you something comparable, if you've run out, or if you're in a medical facility that does have medical supplies, you're able to source that right away should you ever need it. So knowing what you use is key. And that takes time to get to know what works for you as well. And that's kind of like a totally different subject based on what you need for what you're doing. There's people trekking Mount Kilimanjaro, and there's other people sleeping over at grandma's house. So it all depends where you're going and what you're doing. But really knowing what your body is successful with the type of ostomy you have, be that tracheostomy for breathing, urinary diversions, digestive diversions, or others. Some people have ports, etc. So knowing your medical supplies. And with that said, knowing your use. So if you're using one product a day, for example, or one every 5 to 7 days, like if you're changing your ostomy flange, the full set, every 7 days, you're going to know if you're going away for 10 days, maybe take 2 or 3. And it depends where you're going. You're going to a hotter climate, you may be sweating more, you may be swimming more, things like that. You're going to be taking a few extra. If you're going somewhere colder, the same thing applies because of the temperature changes and the way things will adhere to your body differently.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, and I am an overpacker. Can we talk about that?
That's not a bad thing. I think there's this misconception. It's not a bad thing, especially if you're a new patient. I would say it's never a bad thing, or a new traveler. I mean, a lot of people may be well-versed in traveling, but they're traveling with a loved one who it's their first trip ever. It doesn't matter if you have medical diversion or not. It's that first time that you're taking that risk and that adventure on a boat, on a plane, in a car, across the country, doesn't matter. So overpacking is not necessarily bad, but with that said, what you're overpacking with, make sure they're things that you feel you need, not just that you want, but that you need.
Absolutely. Like my ostomy bags.
Yeah, my first trip with my ostomy was, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. My first trip was just to Chicago and then up into Wisconsin. I was gone for a total of 4 days, and I took 20 full bag changes with me.
Right. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You'd be surprised, right? Like sometimes you lose something. So I brought props with me to kind of, and this kind of ties in really well. I think there's 2 big tips. I want to talk about flying. Flying is a really big, different form of travel in the sense of the experience of when you're in an aircraft, when you're landing, when you're traveling, when you're going through customs, clearance, security, all those things is going to be a very different experience of travel than if you're backpacking, or if you're going on a road trip with friends, or if you're on a boat. So all of them are targeted very differently, but specifically for flying, there's a few key things I encourage you to remember. First of all, a lot of people have asked in the past, as well as when I shared this, is what kind of documents do you need to take with you when you are traveling? So it is not a necessity to have medical documents with you. I will make that very clear. It's not an obligation. It's not a requirement. However, I highly encourage you to take 2 notes, one of them being the contact information of your medical professional. So if that's your GP, if that is your specialist, if that's your GI surgeon, or whoever is following you closely, in the sense of should something happen and they're able to reach out and say, this is their most recent blood work, this is maybe their daily treatments that they're receiving, this was their most recent surgery. So that is a note that I highly recommend you to have. And the note does not have to be detailed. It needs to share who their medical professional is. That's number 1. And what your most recent diagnosis is. So for example, if you're an ostomate and that's it, and maybe your Crohn's is hopefully in remission, or cancer is in remission, or maybe it was an emergency surgery, whatever it is. So they live with this type of ostomy. And it requires X, Y, and Z. So if that means daily treatments, if that means wound care, ostomy supplies, those are things that you need to have very, very simply detailed. And the reason I say simply detailed, and doctors know this, so you don't have to explain it to them, it's because in different languages, when people are working at customs clearance and borders and they're doing your checks, they may not be well versed in medical English. So the way your doctor writes Mitrofanov is very different than how it would read in Hebrew or in Spanish or in Chinese. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So a basic letter like that. The other thing is a letter, if you have ongoing drug therapy that you are taking medication with you, a letter that lists all of your medication and the frequency that you're taking it. So those are the 2 letters I highly, highly recommend you to have at all times.
That's great.
Yeah, those are key for any travel, and that goes with your medical supplies. The other thing I recommend you to have, props. There's
Love
props.
We love
This
it.
is typically what my purse looks like when I'm hopping on a flight, because some people like to carry only carry-on, some people like full luggage overpacking, and both are great. I do both. Sometimes I do carry-on only, and other times I pack my dogs and the kitchen sink and a plant, for all I know. So these two bags here. So a small toiletry bag and a clear bag. A lot of people look to get those really fancy travel bags. They're great. They're super smart, easy to pack things in. I don't recommend them for your medical supplies. One, they are very good to organize your supplies, but the issue is they're not see-through. The key is to have a see-through bag. The reason for this is one of two things. When I have medication in here, this is very well loved. Sorry, it's foggy. If I have medication in here, scissors, medical supplies, etc., there is nothing hidden on both sides. They're able to swab this effortlessly, and I am also able to see them interacting with my products. I don't want anyone touching, opening my medication without my hands touching it, etc. So a clear, larger bag, because the other thing too is you may need more things as you go. So you may decide, oh, I want to put my medical supplies, but I also am going to put my toothbrush in here, and that's totally okay. So give yourself a little bit of wiggle room for what you're packing. And I recommend for everything, be it your shampoo or anything else, a clear waterproof bags are even better, but something that can be see-through. And make sure any medication that you are taking has the prescription on it. If you are taking over-the-counter vitamins and you are traveling internationally, I do not recommend taking them with you. Get a prescription version of them. Ask your doctors for a vitamin D prescription, whichever. The reason for that is not all countries will allow the same supplements as are allowed in your own country internationally. So for those who watch Sex and the City in the movie, there were like hormones and vitamins and all these things to beat menopause in her carry-on. And when they arrived at their final destination, it was like, all of these are illegal in our country, so you cannot take them through. And she's like, what do you mean? They're like, they're not prescription. You can't have them here. And the second would be a small toiletry bag. This one is very loved. This is my purse every day. But when I travel, it's a clear version. You can even use a Ziploc. And what you should have in there is enough medical supplies for 2 days. So 2 changes. So if that means 2 bags, 2 flanges, enough paste if you use paste, barrier rings. And then the key to this is the following. Whatever you use, catheters, drains, etc. Scissors. Scissors have a lot of restrictions when traveling on flights. So this is an appropriate size scissor. This is very small. It cuts through any medical supply. The reason I'm showing this is allowed through international customs clearance at any time. Again, in a clear bag, they will be able to see this and realize that this is the blade, this is everything. They'll be able to see it through the scanner. If you want to hide it, they're still going to see it. They'll know it's quite small. Some people have these medical scissors, quite comparable in size. These will not be accepted. So we're talking about 2 inches versus an inch. So you can see that difference there. This will not be accepted. This is considered a dangerous good. It will be confiscated. And if you need to cut any of your medical supplies, you will be left without scissors. So scissors for anything. And this also is key for your travels for anything else you need. If you have your zipper caught on your coat and you can't get out of it and you're hiking or whatever, you can make a little snip. They're really convenient. They're effortless. And these, I mean, you can get baby scissors and they do the same job. Gloves, not for your medical reasons. Medical gloves, any type of disposable gloves. This is great if you do have to do a medical change, and some people wear gloves. However, this is more for public spaces, especially now during COVID. There's this heightened awareness that should have already existed, but that does exist around germs, etc. This is great for if you're going into a public washroom, be it in the airport or on your adventure. You could be at a porta potty. You could be a hole in the grass, whatever. And you may want to feel a little bit more comfortable with what you're touching. You can also use these to then clean a surface, etc., by using soap and water, or if you have hand sanitizer, which nowadays I think everyone really carries with them, pair of disposable gloves. You can also use these should you need to dispose of something. So if you need to grab something similar to doggy bags, you're putting them on, you're flipping it inside out, rolling it up, and it's garbage and you don't have to worry. The other thing was a little garbage bag. So some people use doggy bags. Some medical supply companies give you a bag with your ostomy products or anything else. This is not just for your daily changes, but also if you get sick on an aircraft, on a boat, etc., you can really use this to dispose of whatever. They're usually quite airtight and sealable, etc. Liquid holdings. So there are a lot of issues with how much liquid you can carry on an aircraft, be it an aerosol liquid, so to speak, or a perfume bottle, toothpaste, shampoo, etc. I recommend to keep in mind that nothing should exceed in total in your carry-on over a liter. Medication is excluded from that. However, they do have the right to deny things like paste for ostomy supplies and such, should they consider your limit at its max. So that's where these handy dandy squeeze bottles, you can get them at any variety store, like dollar store, travel stores. You can get them online, Amazon, even bookstores now have them, like Indigo and Chapters, etc. These ones in particular are my favorite because they have a lovely little suction cup on the back. I don't know if you can see that.
Nice. That's exciting.
So when you're in a public space, you can section this to the stall, to your mirror in a hotel, to the side of a car, whatever you need. And if it doesn't work right away, you just use a little bit of water and you're fine, and they'll suction it.
I'm doing on Amazon tonight.
Right? Super clean too. But this is great because they're silicone, so it's not going to break. They're airtight. You can put sunscreen in here. You can put perfume in here, whatever you need. And it is your maximum capacity of 100 mils. 100 mils is not a lot. I can't emphasize this enough. 100 mils is not a lot, and your total is a liter. So really be mindful of what you need versus what you want on an aircraft. And then my two final items would be Kleenex. This is not just for your medical reasons. This is for anything. If you need to wipe down your surface on your aircraft, you can put some hand sanitizer on it, or if you need to wipe your face, I mean, it's Kleenex. Think like an old lady. You need like Mary Poppins bag. And then there's these. These are, I don't know if you can see them. Can you see?
It looks like a mint to me.
So
Oh,
it looks like a mint. So they're pre-sealed face cloths.
what?
So what you do, I have one here ready to go. You don't need a lot, so I'm just opening it up for you guys to see. So they're like these super air packed face cloths, and you can see I have like a tablespoon here. It's not a lot of water. So you drop them into liquid and they expand. It's expanding. And you have a face cloth, be it wet or whatever you need it for, ready to go for your changes, for your face, for whatever.
I'm ready for you to have a show on the Travel Channel.
Magic.
You're magic.
That's
These
magic.
are super soft. They're like a microfiber. You can tell it's like those fancy napkins at a restaurant. Like they're that durable. So this is great for a change, an ostomy change, your face. You need to freshen up before you get off the aircraft. But the key to this is that it's compact, it's airtight, and it has no liquid in it. And you literally need, I used a tablespoon measurer, as you saw, to get this nice and damp, and it expands to full size. So we took it from a chiclet size. I wish my lighting was better. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. We see it. I'm just saying you're magic.
Yeah.
There we go. That's amazing.
And then we have it to this lovely,
Where?
it's like, I don't know if everyone knows J cloths from the medical world. J cloths are like those do all, save all medical cloths that you have post-op.
Where can one buy those? What are they called?
So I can share a link after that we can put on the video, but I get these at any Asian novelty store.
Okay.
And dollar store will have them in the baby section. Sometimes they'll have them in the travel section now at your local pharmacies. So where you can get like the squeeze bottles and the portable toothbrushes, you'll see these pre-packed. And they're, I don't actually know the name, but I know they're like, it says compressed towel on this one. Amazon has them. They sometimes come, like I got a set one time, again, from like a little Asian boutique that I love, that were like Tetra packed. So you just kind of pop them out.
Gum.
I
I was just going to Google tiny magic towels.
Yeah, and I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. I have a few links. So,
No,
but if you shop on like AliExpress, Amazon, I mean, honestly, most stores will have a variety of these, but your local dollar store will have it. You may not know what they are when you see them. You've probably walked past them a million times.
Yeah, so they're like, hey, I don't want a single chiclet. Who wants a single chiclet?
Yeah,
I don't want a
no.
single.
So you can get them by like the truckload. But the nice thing too is these aren't just for flights. These are acceptable on flights. So that's why I'm mentioning them.
Here's what
the key.
Here's what I find cool about that, based on the amount of liquid you had to use to activate the towel, is think about all the times when we were children and our mother would lick her finger and like wash our face just by licking. Moms can take those little towels, put them in their mouth, pull them out, and wash your face.
Did you not see my reference? I was like, just yeah, COVID times, like, lick public surfaces.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, and then so those little tips and tricks I think are key. And then the last thing would be travel size of anything. So sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. If you wear glasses and contacts, do not wear contacts on an aircraft. They're really dry spaces. It's not healthy for your eyes. Your vision is something that you should really take care of, and sometimes we forget about. So wear those funky glasses that you have, or don't wear your contacts if you can't, and carry some contact solution in your little travel case of contacts, and you're set for your flight.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm still perplexed and amazed and intrigued by the little tiny towels.
If only I invented it. Science.
And I will say too, when you were saying about so I use, we used to travel so much that I have a handy dandy list in my phone of all of my meds, all of my medical necessities, and then everything that I would ever have to pack for whatever variety. And I add and subtract things. But one of my big things that I use a gallon baggie for all of my meds. And you're saying make sure it's in the original prescription bottle. Also, I was told make sure it's not expired. Especially if you're traveling, especially with narcotics. And then also, I'll just use, I have, it says travel meds on the bag. And then I just take a little index card and I write all of my normal medications so that when I'm packing, I have an easy little reference so I'm not forgetting something. They're all there and I mentally check them off or physically check them off.
Right. So I think that's where, and it's not to say your list is wrong. It's totally acceptable. The thing is that list, when read, for example, in customs in Kuwait or China or Chile or Canada, is not legal. Like that list is not something that they will refer to. They will read each bottle. But if you have your doctor's list, like just ready to go, because on that doctor's note, they should have a list of prescriptions that you're on, right?
Gotcha.
As a transplant patient, for example, they attach like my recent blood work, so they know what a baseline is for me. But on that list, you're going to see I'm on prednisone, I'm on this, I'm on that, whatever, including, again, that's where the vitamins come in. So if you have prescription vitamin D, great. It doesn't need to be at a prescription grade, so to speak. It'd be over the counter. But if they've prescribed it, it is part of your medical needs.
Got it. Yeah, my list isn't necessarily and I only really travel in the U.S., but my list is more for me to remember what I need to pack.
Yeah, and that's really good too. I think there's something from working with airlines as well for quite a few years now that you come to learn is people say, oh, well, I forgot this, or how dare they forget that, or blah, blah, blah. We don't know the reason why people are traveling before they even decide to book a trip. You could be traveling for fun, for leisure, to visit a loved one, for a loss, for a gain, for work, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. But it's stressful, be it economically, emotionally, people are scared of flying, etc. So making lists is really, really smart. The only thing I would do is what you did. Make a hard copy of whatever list you're doing, as well as your phone. Phones die, batteries die. Phones have glitches, you drop them in the water, etc. If you have a paper list, that's great. And use things that I think if you deem it a necessity, you'll come to learn what you need more and more the more you travel. But if you think it's a necessity, take it with you, because it's much better to have it with you than to then regret or feel uneasy that you're missing something that you deemed necessary.
Absolutely. And I think we've seen it in some people have popped up in the questions, comments about keeping all that stuff on your carry-on. We hear these horror stories of packing it away in the belly of the plane. And I have a big bag of medical supplies and maybe a pair of underwear and a chapstick. That's my carry-on.
I have a big
Some people travel with carry-on only. That's the other thing, right? Like there's this toss-up. I do recommend to carry a handful of necessities with you on your carry-on, and that's where these handy dandy bags kind of come into play. So you're going to take medical supplies enough for about 24 hours. And when I say 24 hours, I don't mean, I change every 7 days. So think of it a change day. You're going to have 2 just in case if one is faulty or whatever. You're going to have spare underwear. Some people will have a spare outfit. I recommend packable clothing that can be layered. So for men and women, if that means a jogging pant, as well as maybe for men, a boxer brief or a boxer instead of a brief, just because then should it be somewhere warm and you're dehydrating and you're kind of dealing with heat, you can wear those shorts. Leggings are a great option for both men and women, and then lightweight scarves that you can layer, protecting yourself, because change in temperature is a huge thing being on an aircraft, especially.
Oh yeah. And I also learned the hard way that always have a toothbrush. Otherwise you're going to spend $7 for a toothbrush when you're stranded in Detroit. Remember that, Joe?
or your batteries are going to die on your electric toothbrush and you're not going to know what to do.
He's like,
you don't know how to. Okay.
Thank you, MJ. Here's No, he literally calls me from his hotel room to my hotel room, and he's like, I have to go to CVS. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, the battery died in my toothbrush. And I was like, so? And he's like, well, I can't brush my teeth. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
I would literally be like, I don't speak English. No English. What?
Yeah.
No, like,
I stand in front of a broken escalator going, huh? Yeah.
I forgot to mention one thing. Sorry, taking it back to travel. Sorry, 2 really, really key things, no matter where you're traveling. Find out what the local emergency number is.
Oh, yes.
911, 307, 605. I don't care what it is. Sometimes they're multiple digits, sometimes they're not. Find out where you're going and what their local emergency phone number is. That's the number one. That's the number 2 thing. The number 1 thing I recommend to everyone, and I have lived it, so I didn't realize how useful it was until I lived an experience where it was used for my benefit. Register with your country before you travel, even if that means domestically. If you are traveling from one state to another, from one province to another, register with your company with your country and your company that you are traveling. Especially, I highly, highly encourage you and ask you to register if you're traveling internationally. The reason for this is if there's ever an emergency, a national emergency, earthquakes, fires, etc., you often see on the news, there's 65 Americans or Canadians in this country. They know this because people have registered. And what happens is they will change your flight and place you on rescue flights or rescue support much faster than if you were telling them, hey, I didn't let anyone know. Who do I call? Where do I go? Blah, blah. They will be doing those things for you. So it actually happened to me before I was in Vegas, joining you at a conference. I was in Chile, and the day I arrived, they declared state of emergency. It was moments before essentially a civil war erupted. We're talking about military on the street, tanks, protests, etc. And the government of Canada knew I was traveling because I register every time I travel anywhere. And I learned that, I don't know how or when, but somehow I found that out through the rumor mill. And within, I would say 48 hours, my flight was changed and they sent me on a rescue flight home.
So what does that mean to register, though? I don't know.
So when you're traveling, if you go on your country's website, so in our case, it would be the Canadian website, in your case, the American website, you would go and it would be like, I am a traveler or I am traveling. That's always an option. I am traveling. So you would find out where you're going, what those requirements look like. For example, if you're coming to Canada, do you require shots? Do you require quarantine because of COVID? What does that look like? What is that country's state right now? So they'll let you know this is a very safe country to travel to right now. There's no civil uproar. Economically, it's very stable, etc. Or it will say something along the lines of do not travel at own risk, only out of necessity because of X, Y, and Z. And they'll state the political reasons that have been declared. So just your government your local government wouldn't be as recommended. I would say your country's website.
Okay.
And you would register as a American citizen, Canadian citizen, whatever your nationality is abroad. So it's a very simple registration process. You literally go in, you enter your first and last name, your legal documents, so your passport, visa information if a visa was required, where you're going, how long you will be there, and the place you will be at on your first day of arrival and your last day. So you can travel in between, but if you're staying at a hotel for 5 days, they know you're at the same hotel. If you're going to be traveling, like I typically, if I go home to Chile, I put like my grandmother's house and then maybe one other destination of my travel, even though I'll be going to a few different ones.
I never knew that. That's such great information.
Yeah, it's
highly recommended.
Awesome.
It should be at the top of the list, and then like find out what that 911 number is as your second choice. Because if there is an emergency and you need help, doesn't matter if you speak English or any other language, no matter where you are, the moment you call an emergency line, it starts being tracked and they try to figure out how to assist you.
Awesome.
That's great. That's great.
Such good info.
We all look forward to registering in about a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that may.
I think being prepared for new guidelines. So another thing that I missed from the carry-on that I always have had with me even before, and my dad used to like even point out, he's like, why are you doing this? Is having a mask with you, a disposable mask, not just the one you're wearing, but an extra one. And that will protect you if you need to go into a medical facility with or without COVID, right? If you need to go into a washroom that you may not find safe or sterile, if you're exposed to a smoking environment and you're allergic to smoke, I mean, a mask comes in handy, even as an eye mask at this point.
Yeah. And it's funny. We were just saying too, like it's so obviously accepted right now to be wearing masks, and it's going to be that way for a really long time. But I'm looking forward to having a supply of them for when it is normal. And I do want to get on a flight and, you know, the guy next to me is coughing or has whatever. I'm excited about being more protective of myself and having that knowledge base feel, you know, more comfortable down the line.
And on that note, I'll just, while you're on that note, I'm hoping that culturally this will have an impact. Granted, this is a big hope. People are hard to change, but that when we are sick, we'll take those precautions on our own to not spread our germs to other people.
Yeah, we were talking about that here, I think, with a few of my friends and people that you know. And I think the dynamic of going to work critically ill, like before people would be like, I just need to, and, oh, are you sure you can't come in? And kids sick at school. I think we'll have a little bit more respect for that, and hopefully a little bit more respect to the person that is sick, like you said.
Yeah.
It'll be a new norm and I think a lot of businesses and companies and corporations have learned that who can really work from home. Aside from frontline workers, and even retail platforms have changed drastically, and there's still going to always be physical bodies there. But I think being ill will be a lot more respected, and it will be understood that you need a moment to recover versus dragging this on to the point where you are critical and may not be able to recover.
Yeah, exactly.
We have some questions and stuff popping in here. We've been trying to keep up with some comments, popping comments up along the way.
This is definitely one that we get very often. About traveling through security with an ostomy, what to expect, what to do, what to not do. What are your tips for those?
So number one thing before you even go through security is knowing that you are not alone. You will be checked with or without an ostomy. Those scanners see you. People are being pulled aside for having their cell phone in their pocket. I mean, anything. They have the right to search you for anything. This is international, especially international security. Safety is the highest priority. First thing I would say, empty whatever type of ostomy you have before you go through security. It takes 2 minutes, even if you're running late. Hopefully you bought a flexible ticket that allows you to take the next flight if you're that late, but head to the washroom, make sure you feel comfortable for 2 reasons. One, if the line is long, you don't want to have to be rushing. Sorry about the honking. You don't want to have to be rushing to a washroom. 2 is if you are asked to be stepped aside and kind of a pat down, you may feel uncomfortable or like your space is invaded should someone feel something more full or empty, etc. So go to the washroom. The second thing is, in the US specifically, there are a lot of guidelines around how to approach ostomates and what they are or are not allowed to do. So in the US, you are not allowed to physically ask someone to remove any medical supplies that they're wearing. So pouches, flange, drains, catheters, etc. Those cannot be physically removed off your body by anyone. If they need to check you further because they're having cases of people smuggling diamonds, for example, in ostomy pouches, I mean, super glamorous. But if that is the case, you have the right to ask in any country in the world for a medical professional to be present, and they do have them ready to go. So if you are smuggling something, be prepared that there are medical professionals who are willing to show that you're smuggling something.
He's about to say something gross.
I never have diamonds in my bag, only coal.
Oh, but yeah. So when they are patting you down, though, and you can Google this, there are some videos available. They can pat you. They will ask you to show you, but for you to show them where your ostomy or your medical diversion is located. So you will just either hold your hand over it like this or just point to it. And often they'll say, can you just keep your hand over it? And they will pat around. And what they're looking for is for no cables, no cords or whatever. And if you do have cables attached, sometimes people are wearing heart monitors, things like that. Just let them know what you're carrying. Be honest. I think if you say, I don't want to, don't be nervous. These people deal with it every single day. The moment you say ostomy, often they'll say, oh, don't worry, go ahead. Or, oh, yeah, go through the scanner if you like. I recommend using the scanner unless you have like a defibrillator, or if you're dealing with radiation and things like that, then you don't want to be as exposed. But it's a lot faster. They see everything very quickly, and you can just kind of head right through. The other thing is you are eligible anywhere in the world for accessibility lines, accessibility entrances. I recommend you to register ahead of your flight for that. But when you get to the airport, you have the right to ask for that as well. And you don't need to be in a mobility device, contrary to popular belief. People don't blame if people ask, well, you don't look sick or something like that. It's very inappropriate for them to ask. However, people don't know. People don't know otherwise. So you do have the right to ask for that, and you can let them know I'm an ostomate, and they'll be perplexed by the word in itself. It's like saying Mitrofanov. So,
right.
Yeah. So I think going through security sometimes can be intimidating, but don't be afraid. They're there for your safety as well as their own and all the other travelers. And it should not be something invasive. If you ever feel uncomfortable, please ask for help. It should never be that way. They do have the right to pat you down, though, and they do have the right to scan you and things like that for safety precautions.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, too, I'm always happy to, for whatever reason, I always get a new agent. And so they're like, oh, hold on. But I love it because then they go get their manager, and it's an opportunity for the manager then to explain it to the new employee. And I have no problem sharing everything about it, letting them know a little bit more. And it's kind of helpful. And I feel like for those of us who are able to go ahead and have that explanation ready, it's going to be helpful to everybody behind us, in that line with the new employee. So I'm always happy to share.
Yeah, and if you let them know ahead of time, just answering that question very specifically. So do you have problems going through with an ostomy? I don't think it's a problem. I think it can be flagged if you don't let them know. So you open up your bag, they're going to say, hey, laptops, cell phones, all aside, don't put them in your bag. You want to make sure those electronics are separate, liquids, gels, blah, blah, blah. There comes right away. That clear bag comes right out of my purse and they can see it. And I let them know, just so you'll know, I have an ostomy. Okay, thank you for letting us know when you go through. Okay, we'd like to do secondary or not, or whichever. I mean, super fun, but sometimes you fly through. The other thing is the North American norm, and especially European norm, is very different to the rest of the world. So you'll find if you're traveling to a Hispanic country, for example, they're very religious, and they'll be like, oh, what a blessing. You're an angel. Oh my God, you're alive. Versus here, they're like, hey, next. You know what I mean?
I want to travel there now.
Yeah,
you should. It's a different dynamic, right? So, or sometimes they'll try and be like, oh yes, I know all about it. And they don't even, I mean, we weren't even speaking the same language, and you think to yourself, that's very kind. They try to be inclusive, right? And all these new things that are happening around the world that to us have become very normal. So
awesome. Awesome.
I have one question that I'm going to pop up. There's just a comment here from Liz, but you were talking about, like, especially in the States, talking about they can't make you take the bag off or anything like that. Can that be an issue abroad or anywhere where you?
Yeah, it can. It can. That's a great question. So I think there's something that first world countries, we'll put those in air quotes, are trained around medical diversions in general. Not perfectly, but in general. I mean, they staff, be it from airlines to airports to customs clearance, security, et cetera, are trained on what different medical situations are. However, like any training, some people will miss certain details. With ostomy supplies, they are told you're not allowed to remove anything. They can't ask you to lift up your shirt either. I mean, they can say, hey, can you just show us where it is? And you kind of, often they ask you to see the edge of your pant line with your shirt line. Bare skin is not required in public. Should they ever ask you to do secondary, you legally have the right to ask for a medical professional. They cannot ask you to remove any medical object that you use off of your body. Especially, I want to emphasize this, especially for people with mobility issues. Often Danes and Eagles are used to transfer patients that are passengers into aircraft. So if you're fully disabled, or if you have some mobility issues, limitations, etc., when they're transferring you, they can't ask you to remove your catheter, for example, so that it's easier transfer. I mean, none of those things are allowed. Technically, even when they touch you, there's restrictions around that. So just be mindful that your rights are still the same across the world. In the US specifically, and in Canada, I know for a fact, they can't ask you to remove any of that. They can ask you to see details in the sense of, hey, can you let us know where the pouch is, or is it a catheter system, etc. But if they ask you to remove that, that's a big no, and that's a big red flag, and that's when you ask for help. And if you feel like you're not finding the right help, don't fly. Don't go on that aircraft if you're not ready to, because of someone's discrimination.
Yeah, I will say I had an incident. Usually we fly through and I'm not detected, and it's fine. It's great. It's always an easy process. I'm 50-50, honestly. But I did have somebody who was very, very new, and I don't think completely knew all of the rules yet. And so they were just like, "Oh, is that something that you can take off?" Mm-hmm. And it was very, I was very kind and descriptive, but after a while, I'm like, no, that's actually poop in there. So I had to say that. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah.
You know why that is, though? There are things that are removable.
Right.
And sometimes it is easier. But I will give you a very clear example that is not ostomy related, but it is medical diversion related. If you have a prosthetic, so they can't legally ask you to remove that. They cannot. However, it is removable. And often passengers who are patients will remove them to have more mobility in certain areas. For example, if they're being transferred in with a Dane or something like that, they may choose to remove that prosthetic. However, but that is a personal choice, and we cannot legally ask that. And if someone does ask you, you ask for a supervisor or something, and often they're very accommodating. Like you said, someone could be new. It's a lot of training these people go through. It is a lot of information. Think about your own health and how little we know, in the sense of every time we're like, oh, I didn't realize that, or we know a lot, but there's so much more to learn. These staff members across the board, be it through airlines, in-flight, off-flight, etc., go through a lot, and they're not perfect. No one is. So.
You know what I learned a lot about? The baby towel that you put in the teaspoon of liquid.
Oh, this?
That's the one.
Nice and cold now?
Yeah, refreshing.
And perfect for menopause.
Exactly. I always have my fans.
Yeah, I think it's great you talk about how everyone's trained, and of course they could miss things or whatever in training. But I know Danielle saying, someone asked her, "Can you take that off?" If they'd ask me, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, sure, here you go." But I know I've caught more than one TSA agent off guard when they're doing the pat down, because I always tell them I have an ostomy. I go through the scanner. Of course, it lights up on the scanner because I have a belt and a cover on, so it's extra thick and all that. But when I come out for the pat down and they start patting around, without even them, like, I'll lift up my shirt and stuff, and they're just like, it throws them off, because they're like, no, don't lift up your, don't do that,
I did have somebody.
It all depends how comfortable you are. I mean, my dad like you, my dad has like both his hips replaced, and he's like, "Amigos, let me show you." And he was like, start taking off his pants, and I'm like, "Keep your pants on. Our pants coming off." He's like, "They can't see it. It's in your body. Like, what are you doing?"
It's just raising awareness, and I can appreciate that. And for the one person,
I think he's just getting naked. No, I'm
it's
kidding.
fine. Also fine. That's fine. That's body positivity. But no, one of the people that was very inquisitive about an ostomy and didn't know that much yet, they were like, "What's in there?" And I was like, oh, "How do I?" I'm like, "My breakfast."
That would have been like magic.
No, I think I said a toaster strudel. Like I was like, breakfast. Breakfast is in there now, sir.
Yeah. And you're gonna have people like. Here's the thing, traveling is not easy. I can't emphasize this enough. Be it the passenger next to you who's like, "Oh, they're taking so long," or the TSA agent who really is in a bad mood or whatever. You're going to have people. And I think the best thing is to be clear. Don't worry. They're there again for your safety. "Oh, I'm not carrying it." You know what? There's no need to explain to them that you're not a drug lord. They, especially if you're in another country, there's a language barrier, there's a safety issue. I mean, people that go through the airports, the stories I could share with you are insane, and it's terrifying, and they deal with every spectrum, everything, every terrifying event to every laughing, joyful event. You know what I mean? So it's key to kind of keep calm. Budget for time. Okay, friends, let me just make one thing very clear. Show up on time. You can, some people have shared with me, I've made it like right at the nick of time, 100%. But you don't want to have to run into an issue where you had to run to the washroom, you didn't have enough time, you had a leak, you had this, But additionally, what if you run into a situation like COVID, where now at the beginning of COVID, we were locking down aircrafts and saying, okay, they're going through additional clearance, so everyone else has to wait. You know what I mean? Like, or what if someone was sick ahead of you and then you're delayed because of them? Give yourself enough time. So domestically, that means about an hour and a half. That means through checking in, getting to your gate, checking your luggage should you need to. And internationally, I would give yourself 3 hours.
That's my kind of thing. Joe's the 10-minute guy. I'm the 3-hour person.
I'm both.
Yeah.
Depends the mood I'm in.
We usually land in the middle, and then we eat a lot of snacks for a long time. So that's how we work it out.
Yeah. And the other thing is you can ask for pre-boarding. It's not always going to be granted to you, but you can ask for it and see if that's deemed possible. So when they often say no to pre-boarding, it's because they have higher risk pre-boarding happening. So if they have to use a Dane or an Eagle to carry someone who has full mobility needs and assistance, they're not going to be boarding anyone out of respect to their dignity. So those are a lot of rules around aircraft specifically, let alone airlines, that they won't be boarding someone if someone has mobility issues in case, what if their pouch is showing or something and they want to keep that dignity intact? So they'll be pre-boarding as they deem necessary, but make that clear that you'd like that support and it'd be great.
Yep, I've used that before, especially after surgeries and where I need a little extra time, and they're so good. I've never had an issue. Never ever had an issue. They're always very respectful.
Yeah. You know, we are coming up on the hour here, and I would like to go through just you guys can keep talking. I'm going to scan through and see if there's other questions. There's certainly comments.
Lots of comments about the little cards that you can show from the UOAA or Ostomy Canada Society about that. You know, I have an ostomy. That is a great way to share that when you're letting them know about it. What else was there?
I think so. If there's a takeaway I can give anyone here is plan on your carry-on for at least 24 hours worth of medical needs. So that means 2 changes realistically when I say 24 hours. So that change day and should it not work. That includes clothing. Take some extra clothing if you can. Take layers. Aircrafts can get very cold and very hot, and it's a lot easier to cool down and warm up if you have those layers available. Plan your trip a little bit ahead. I've booked flights hours before I've left, but I've still planned within that in the sense of check in, make sure you let people know that you have accessibility needs of any type. You don't need to let them know in detail. Have those medical letters ready at all times. I have some that are just kind of basic standards and I keep them for about 6 months at a time. Make sure you have enough medication and medical supplies for double your trip length. Make sure your passport is valid for at least 6 months post arrival back home. Should your flights get delayed, etc. And be optimistic. It's hard to travel even without special needs. So if you have unique necessities, that's okay. It's going to be challenging, but enjoy it and be ready for that next adventure. It's so fulfilling, even if it means going on a road trip to your grandma's house. So.
Exactly.
That's
I'm
great.
looking forward to it. I can't
great.
wait, but I will.
Well, MJ, it has been wonderful having you here.
A pleasure always.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry we didn't bring chicken wings.
I know, we're so bad.
I read that in your little note, and I was like, I'm personally offended I didn't get a delivery of chicken wings. Who am I to say anything? I'm gonna have to make some.
Yeah, we'll have to get your address, and we'll
DoorDash you some.
Perfect. I wish you the best on your next adventure, and to everyone watching, please travel safely. Please try to avoid traveling during COVID. Keep our frontline workers safe that way, and keep yourself safe. But for your next adventure, save your budget and plan for something grand.
Yes, and everybody, if you're not following Maria-Jose already, please follow her on all social platforms at MJ Bouey.
Keep well, keep healthy. Happy early Valentine's Day, and happy birthday!
Thank you. All right, everybody have a great
night.
night.
For having me.
We love you, MJ.
Big love to all of you.
That was fun.
It's still going.
It is still going. I haven't stopped it. I was just saying goodnight to MJ.
Oh, I thought you were. I'm like,
we have to do our outro and say goodnight to everyone.
Let me just put a little thing why I was like, oh no, we're not done, because we're still learning about this.
We are.
We're still learning, and our second one that we did, the thumbnail on it is me picking my teeth because I thought that we weren't showing.
Well, that was my fault. It was my fault because we were still figuring this out. We were figuring out how to do the little video at the top, and I didn't realize we were still up here in the broadcast studio broadcasting at the same time I hit go live.
At the same time I was picking my teeth in preparation.
And then I clicked. So there was like a second or two in between there overlap.
So what I'm saying is I don't trust technology.
Or me. She doesn't trust me.
I don't trust you.
But hey, this was a great conversation. It was great.
Wonderful.
MJ is a wealth of knowledge and experience.
100%.
And I just am always in awe of getting information from her.
And I took 2 pages of notes because I thought I knew a lot about traveling. I now realize I don't know very much, and there's a lot that I can learn. So
see, doesn't it make you feel like I felt this great sense of relief years ago when I realized I don't know much?
Because you're not letting yourself down?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know I don't know much, and I'm happy
You're
with that.
accepting that. You're accepting that.
I just want to go a couple quick comments. Amber jumped in here, and Amber says, your hair looks amazing.
Thank you. It's called My Hair Got Wet with the Snow. That's literally what happened to it today.
Your hair got wet with the snow.
Yeah, like I actually did it. Now it's kind of undone, but apparently looks better when I'm in a snowstorm. So thank you.
Yeah, and following along the travel theme, she wants you back.
Yeah, I can't wait, Amber. I miss you. Dave was just talking about Taco Bell and asked about you like 2 days ago. So
yay.
So much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to see all of you in person when we can safely, which will be sometime from now. But let's close out the show with our
joyful things from our library. Can you explain the library to those who don't know about our library?
I will explain our library. My sister Laura is the DBI librarian, and she's picking us up poop-themed books whenever she sees them. So we have some poop-themed books, children's books.
So if you guys know of a poop-themed, excrement-themed, some kind of bathroom humor theme, children's book that we need to look into and purchase, please drop us a line and let us know. Until then, we would like to we're gonna teach you guys a little something from a book called F is for Fart, and F is for Fart too. All we need is just the letter of a letter in the alphabet. Anybody, first person that gives us a letter, we're gonna take it and we're gonna give you something educational. So throw out any letter in the alphabet.
Yeah, and there's a there's a delay, so it's going to be a few seconds before we see those letters coming in. So I will say V. V is the first letter.
Okay.
V and T. V and T. We'll take V and T. V and T are our letters.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for submitting. V, this is something I've never even heard of. V is for vervet monkey. Vervet monkeys play all day and all night, having fun and farting to their delight.
I just
Can
learned.
you see it? Yeah.
I just learned I'm a vervet monkey. V is for vampire bat. Vampire bats are mammals that can fly. They stink up the air in the night sky.
See you guys. You're welcome.
I'm also a vervet. I'm also a vampire bat. Thank you. I can't see the screen.
That's okay. That's
Awesome.
great. We have T. One more. This is like a bad version of Romper Room. I think we talked about Romper Room last time.
T is for tiger. Tigers are the largest cat species. When they break wind, it smells like feces. That was a stretch.
I feel like they were just running out there because I think that everyone smells like feces if they fart.
Yeah.
Okay, T is for turtle. Turtles make great ninjas. We all know that. Do we? I feel like this is false. Just keep your distance when their butts go splat. So really what I'm saying here is we need to write our own book.
We will. We will definitely do that. Well, everyone, I've been Joe.
I am always Danielle.
And together we are
Double Bagging It.
Until next week. Tune in next week for episode 1.6.
Yeah, we don't know what that's going to be yet, so it'll be a surprise.
All right. Good
Bye,
night.
everybody. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.